comes from Madison. Madison writes, "My horse and I have been barrel racing for a couple of months now, but the turns don't feel right. When we're going around the barrels, especially turning to the left, she puts her weight under her front end and feels rough around the barrel. She kind of lowers her head as she goes around, and all of this slows us down a lot. She's been to the vet and the farrier recently. If you can help me try to understand what she's doing, that might help me out." Thanks for your question, Madison. It's great to hear that you've had your mare checked over by a vet and are providing her with adequate hoof care, because I'm sure, as you know, what you're describing can be caused by a health problem. I would also recommend looking closely at Saddle Fit, and we'll post some resources on the webpage along with this video. Now, because your horse is so new to barrel racing, I'm thinking that she just needs to learn to better utilize her body for smooth, correct movement around the barrels. To teach her to use herself properly, you'll want to forget about the barrel pattern for now and work on some exercises that require your horse to balance herself with more weight on the hindquarters. We'll be going to the arena so I can demonstrate a couple of exercises, but first I wanted to remind you of some points that will be absolutely critical to your success. Remember that horses are likely to do in their bodies what we are doing in ours. So you'll want to perform these exercises with a good amount of energy in your body to really encourage your horse to get some life in her step. Also, make sure you're staying balanced in the saddle and not leaning too far forward or to the side, and that your saddle isn't too far forward, all of which can make it difficult for your horse to use her hindquarters properly for fast, balanced, four-wheel drive movement. In addition, make sure she can maintain a lope on her own without you having to beg her to keep going. Remember that once we ask our horses to lope or go off on a walk or a trot, they should stay at that gait and not get any faster or slower unless we ask. The first exercise that I think will really help is simple rollbacks on the fence. To start with, trot a big circle in the arena and then approach the fence at a 45-degree angle. Just as you get to the fence, exhale, sit deep in your saddle, lightly pick up the reins, and then look over your shoulder and use some outside leg pressure to guide her to make a turn back the opposite direction. Encouraging her to make a quick, snappy departure will be important. If your horse is kind of stiff and clunky on the front end, then the fence will help motivate her to shift her weight, suck back over her hindquarters, and turn. Now, because I've been focusing on writing my book, my horses have been turned out this winter, and neither of us are tuned up and in shape. So we have some opportunities to look at some examples of what you want and don't want this to look and feel like. This first rollback felt pretty good. After loping a circle around, we approached the fence from the other direction, and when we went to roll back, my horse tried to turn on his front end and didn't have his hind legs positioned underneath himself in order to push away with power, as you can see right there. In this next example, you'll see that our timing for the stop wasn't great and he clunked down on his front end. But our rollback was okay. In this final example, my horse is recognizing a pattern here now, and he actually anticipated rolling back. I appreciate his effort, but he really needs to wait for me to cue him, so to remind him of that, I settled there for a moment before asking him to go. Once you've spent a few rides focusing on getting your horse working off her hindquarters better, then move on to the next exercise, which involves circling around 3 tires spaced out in line 30 feet apart. I like to carry old bicycle tires with me because they're lightweight, quick, and easy to set up anywhere. You can also start this exercise at a trot, but you'll get the most benefit doing it at a lope. Head down one side of the tires and then circle around each one like you would a barrel, but in the same direction. Keep circling the same tire until your horse can make a nice even circle, and then straighten out and move to the next tire and circle it. If the circle feels good, go around only once and move to the next one. Go back and circle the tires the other direction also. At first, your horse might feel clunky like you described, but if you carefully consider the tips I mentioned earlier, in time she'll get better at using her body efficiently. As I perform this exercise, here we're seeing that my horse's movement is kind of lethargic and clunky. He actually improved quite a bit in that one session, not only because I kept doing the exercise, but because I also did my best to make sure my timing and balance was correct, and because I asked him to lope those circles and really put effort into it, as much as his fitness level would allow anyway. Thanks again for your question, Madison. Keep in mind that it's not so much the exercises that really make a difference, but the way we go about implementing them that matters most. And that when you teach your horse how to use her body correctly and efficiently first, then doing so on the barrel pattern will be a piece of cake. Good luck.